Okay, so as I've been talking about, there was a little film that came out um, this last weekend. Just a small film. It's been, out there for a while. I mean, not out there for a while, but it's been there. And that's Guardians 3. And Guardians 3, this is kicking off blockbuster season. And this is the one that everybody was looking forward to. Not just because it is Guardians of the Galaxy, not just because it is James Gunn, not just because it is Marvel, but they wanted to see everything wrap up in a nice little bow. And that's what he's done. Um, I saw it. I liked it. I really liked it. Was this his best Guardians movie? No, I think that's still the 2014 original Guardians of the Galaxy. Um, and why we care about these? Do we care about these characters so much? Because he did make the first Guardians so good. Um, and I think that you know it had all of the things you wanted, right? So it actually it actually did pretty well. Okay, it came in a little low than expected, but still. So this comes from the Hollywood Reporter once again, and it talks about um, the opening weekend for Guardians of the Galaxy, and it made 118.4 million after um, over the weekend. James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 topped the weekend box office with a domestic opening of 118 million, well behind the last well behind the last film in the standalone Marvel franchise, but enough to prove that the new movie is still already benefiting from strong audience sentiment. Final numbers are higher than Sunday's 114 estimate, thanks to an extraordinary Saturday to Sunday hold for Marvel Picture or any event title. The film was down 18% in the Marvel family. Only Avengers Endgame and Infinity War saw the same, or slightly better holds. And compared to the recent fare, Guardians 3 saw less of a Saturday to Sunday drop than the Super Mario movie, which was at 28%. But to be fair, okay, Super Mario has been out 5 weeks. So the news was even better overseas, where the superhero pick placed number one everywhere, starting with the better than expected 170.9 million from 52 markets, from a worldwide debut of 289.3 million. Sunday's global estimate was 282. China led with 28 million, followed by the UK at 14, South Korea 13, Mexico at 13, and France at 8.2. In China, Guardians 3 came in at a surprise number one with 28 million despite competition from homegrown fare. That's less than the 49 million debut of the last installment. It's a strong number considering that most Hollywood movies have been doing normal business in China, and the movie is huge in South Korea. It's already earned more than Super Mario, which is already doing well across the rest of Asia, Europe, and Latin America. Any domestic opening over $100 million dollars in the post pandemic era is nothing to be dismissed. Still, Guardian's initial performance in North America is mixed news for Marvel and Gunn, who now runs rival DC Studios. It sparks further concern that superhero fatigue has settled in at the box office as the 2023 summer kicks off. Only a year ago, for example, Marvel's threequel Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness soared to a best $187 million dollars in its domestic launch. Guardians 3 certainly didn't lack for audience love. It earned an A cinema score and strong exit on post track, and that support is already paying off. On Sunday morning, Marvel and Disney thought the movie might clear no more than 110 million for the weekend, but traffic was better than expected throughout Saturday and it saw a bump over Friday. If that trend continues, the threequel could enjoy a long run. Reviewers felt differently than consumers, with Guardians 3 sporting the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score of the three films in the franchise. In 2017, Guardians Volume 2 opened to 146 million, which was first Guardians, while the first one opened to 94.2 domestically in 2014, and that's not adjusted for inflation. It's a little unusual for a title in the MCU to open behind the previous installments in a respective series, but not unheard of sequels that didn't release as high, including Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which was released as a COVID-19 as it, the COVID-19 pandemic still raged, and Avengers: Age of Ultron. Guardians 3 opened most recent uh, on par with recent Marvel picks, Ant-Man, Wasp, Quantumania, which posted a series best 106 million and 120 million over for the 4-day weekend. That movie, however, was ultimately considered a disappointment after topping out at less than $500 million of franchise love. The Guardians 3 quote continues the long tradition of Marvel movies kicking off the summer season of the box office. Heading into the weekend, most recent tracking showed Guardians opening at $110 to $120 million domestic. Initial tracking showed it launching at $130 million, so the drop no doubt concerned Marvel and Disney. Guardians 3 reunites Gunn with Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillan, Sean Gunn, Bradley Cooper, and Vin Diesel. Newcomers include Chadwick Ekua as the villain of the High Evolutionary, and Will Poulter, who plays the classic Marvel character Adam Warlock. The film did huge business for IMAX of premium formats, which delivered 40% of the business. IMAX alone turned in $25 million on a global basis. After ruling the roost for 4 weekends, Universal and Illumination's billion-dollar blockbuster Super Mario, with voice by Pratt, finally fell to number 2 with an estimated $18.6 million for a hefty total of $518 million in short and north just of $1.16 billion globally. Warner Brothers' Evil Dead Rise jumped the $100 million mark globally in its third weekend. In North America, it came in number 3 with $5.7 million and with a domestic tally of $54 million. Overseas, it earned another $9.1 million from 63 markets for a foreign accumulation of $60.7 million and $114 million worldwide. The Pix's performance at the international box office is still impressive, considering that horror doesn't usually travel well. Lionsgate Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret came in 4th place in its sophomore weekend with $3.4 million for a domestic tally of $12.6 million. Rounding out the top 5 was Screen Gems and Sony's romantic comedy Love Again, which dared to open opposite Guardians 3 since it was going to be a different audience. The movie was DOA on its debut, only grossing $2.4 million. Written and directed by Jim Strauss, Love Again stars Sam Heughan and others. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. Superhero fatigue. Is it there? I'm going to say no. I think everybody was looking forward to this movie. I think just because it didn't blow up like the first Guardians, or even the sequel, does not preclude it from being bad. That being said, I think that there was a couple. So you have to understand a couple of things. Okay. Number one, when you have a film like this, okay, I have to backtrack for a minute. People forget about why Marvel basically took May, because that is their month. It's been their month for the last 10 to 12 years. So way back 20 years ago, once upon a time, there was a little movie called Spider-Man. Okay. Now, Spider-Man was supposed to open in 2001. Well, we all know what happened there. I mean, I'm not dismissing it. I'm saying we had 9/11. That being said, what Sony did was they pushed it back a year. And when they pushed it back, it came out in May of 2002 to a huge audience reaction. I mean, I still remember seeing that trailer, and you can YouTube this if you want, that one with the Twin Towers. Anyways, it came out in 2002, and it was huge. Huge. Okay. Because of that, then you have Spider-Man 2 come out a couple years later and does fantastic business. And it was a fantastic movie, too. So Marvel and Sony have really owned May for the last. Then we fast forward to '08. So the Avengers comes out in 2012. Okay, for the past 11 years, you've had a Marvel movie come out at the beginning of May. Every single year. Every single year. 2014, we have Guardians, the very first Guardians. And I've said this before, there were a number of reasons why that worked. Because it was character driven, okay? Because it worked, okay? And the fact is that you cared about these characters, and that's why you're able to have a threequel or a trilogy and have this kind of opening, even though it's less than what you did before. Okay. But 2014 was a huge year for Marvel, okay? Because people, and I said it before, and you guys can go back and look at the perfect movies, that I did, and I'll put that up there on the top corner for you. There was a little movie that came out called Captain America Winter Soldier that I think saved the MCU on so many different levels, okay? Number one, you had, you had, it was a political thriller. It was action based. This was the first time that you really had a star, okay, a big guest star, if you will, in Robert Redford come in playing Alexander Pierce, multitude of other things. So 2014 was a big year. So when this opened, the first Guardians opens and it did big business, people were looking forward toward the sequel. That being said, you have James Gunn elevated this from a C or D, we'll call it a C comic or characters to an A comic. And that's why it opened so well. The second one opened. And so when you're doing that, it's harder. The other thing it touched on too, okay, was the it's always harder to do that. So volume 2, it opened to 146. So of course you're going to get the bump, right? So now let's talk about two other things real quick. Number one, okay, I got to talk about, so last year, okay, as everybody knows, Multiverse of Madness came out. $187 million opening weekend. Almost made $1 billion globally. The reason why that film did so well, okay, was because you look at the success of No Way Home. No Way Home was a big, made almost $2 billion globally, okay? So you had Doctor Strange in that. And this was going to be, when you have another Doctor Strange movie, you're hoping that it's a continuation in some capacity. So when he's in his own movie coming out in May, of course it's going to do well. That being said, so that's why that opens so well. So that if you look at the last 5 opening weekends of Marvel films, okay, excluding this one, they average $155 million, $156 million. Okay, I'm talking about Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, which opened at 187. Okay, Wakanda Forever. Okay, Thor: Love and Thunder. Okay, that's including Ant-Man and the Wasp, the new Ant-Man and the Wasp, and so that being said, it's going to average out. This is right under. It's about 20 or 30 million under the average. Okay, I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is one of 3 films that's going to win 2 weekends. Okay, it's going to win one this weekend, obviously, and then it's going to win next weekend, the 12th. Okay, that's where it's going to really make its money. Once Fast 10 comes out, depending on how it does, okay, and it's all going to be hinged on how Fast 10 does. If it's not a good film, people are not going to go back, right? They're going to go see Guardians. So this does have a chance to do very big box office. I think that even if it is a good movie, okay, relatively speaking, okay, which I'm not. I mean, I'm going to go see it, but I'm going to go in completely blind. Even if it is a good movie, okay, I think that something that needs to be considered, okay, is if there's a Marvel picture out there and a movie like this, what are you going to go see? Okay. I think people might, turn to Marvel and James Gunn. Now, I'm not saying Fast 10 is going to win the 19th, the weekend of the 19th. I'm saying that, or Guardians is going to win that weekend. I'm just saying that it could definitely do some business. Um, it was good for what it was. I teared up a couple times, didn't cry, but I thought that there were a couple of points that I really didn't care about. Um, this obviously was an emotional scene here, and how that was done. Um, if you want to go back, actually, and I know I keep saying this, if you guys want to go back and watch my spoiler cast on it, I will put it up there, a little link right there for you guys to go watch. Um, I thought it was good. Was it as good as the 2000? No, you can't duplicate that or replicate it. It's so difficult. I thought that the brief synopsis of it, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. It was emotional. Um, I like the fact that the guy didn't get the girl. And one of my biggest problems with the film is that High Evolutionary, the character, was saying the same thing over and over and over for 90 minutes. But otherwise, I mean, I was really happy with what they did with, they gave Karen Gilliam's Nebula a lot of things to do. Mantis had a bigger role. Drax ended up having his storyline finished. So there were a lot of good points there. Um, so, anyways, yeah, that's Guardians 3. And look, as far as superhero fatigue is concerned, I don't think there's any. There is none. Because don't forget, you're going to have The Flash coming out in about 6 weeks. And, you know, we're going to be right. And obviously, it's DC, but it's still superhero based. And I think that it's going to do really good as far as, some of the things are concerned. Anyways, guys, what do you think? Did you go see Guardians 3? Did you go see it in IMAX? Did you go see it in 2D? What day did you go see it? How many times have you seen it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and I'll get back to